For this episode you're going to be watching, it's me coming in on a Sunday working on my own personal projects, that one over there in the back. So this is the first time I'm trying to do like this style of video, so there's going to be tons of room for improvement. And what I ask for my viewers is to give me some tips on how to make things better, or why you couldn't even watch the whole darn thing, right? So if you wouldn't mind, please get into the comments and tell me what I can improve on or how to make things better. So this is like the first time we're doing this kind of video, doing some editing, probably gonna have some background music in there. And I'm not a YouTuber, so I'm looking for your help, okay? But this video is gonna be showing you, like, I'm pulling the engine out of this car, getting ready to try to get this car on like a 1,500, 2,000 mile road trip. And the goal is to make it safe and reliable. And I'm trying to do this 40-year-old car to do that. So yeah, stay tuned. And hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Let me show you what this piston looks like. You can see that it is melted all the way down in the front. You can see the top piston ring. There's a good one there. So the problem is, what I wanted to do was take the other engine. I'll show you in a second. But this one, you can see the numbers on the piston there. Stock bore is 76.48, I believe. And the extra block that I got from a friend of mine ended up having rebuilt pistons in it. You can see it's 76.98, and you got a 0.5. So we got a 1/2 mil oversized piston. So the goal is to take this block with those pistons, buy new rings, or maybe even reuse those, because the cylinder walls are in really good shape, and see what we can do with this engine. So I need to get this crankshaft out and make sure that we can use it. If this crankshaft is bad, I got to decide what we're going to do. I mean, it is a turbo diesel. All of the other diesel Mark 1 and Mark 2s I've ever owned were always non-turbo, except for an Echo diesel. But this car is in really good shape. It's an AC car too, which is going to be kind of nice. But we do have some damage there and some here. Now, I think I'm going to actually pay to do some PDR on it and see, because the patina on this car is just freaking awesome. And I really, truly do not really want to get into having to redo it. I don't want to paint this car again. It's just too much work. So, got a little ding there. We got Audi, old school Audi wheels on it. The adapters on here, I think, are a little too thick. I do have some coilovers on it, but you can see the stance is good, but honestly, it's going to rub like crazy. It's got to come up like at least an inch. I did buy a fender roller, so I will try to roll these fenders. I'm also going to buy some thinner adapters and see if I can get some. But the problem is, you need to run adapters because they're 4x98 millimeter. You used to be able to buy wobble bolts. And since it's only 2 millimeter difference, you buy the wobble bolt and it's only 1 millimeter from the left and the right. So I might look into those things, but I think the wobble bolts only work on the 14 mil lug nuts or lug bolts. So I got to see if they make them for the 12 mil. And if they do, maybe that's the way to get away with putting them on this car. Since we can use bolts instead of lug nuts, right? So when I bought these, they came from a Honda Civic, and that's why they came with adapters. But anyway, so I'm gonna get started on yanking this engine. We'll see whether or not the crankshaft's bad. If the crankshaft is bad, I have to decide whether or not I want to do like an ABA gas motor, or try to keep it the exact same and try to find a known good 1.6 diesel, naturally aspirated or turbo, put all this stuff back on it. I have a feeling the injection pump is bad. I almost positive that the lift pump inside the pump is bad. I tried gravity feeding it, but trying to start a diesel on 3 cylinders is kind of rough. And then we have to figure out why it melted a piston in the first place. My guess is that an injector hung open. There's a guy that's like an hour and a half away that does these, so I can probably send him the pump and the injectors and have them done. But I only want to do that if I have a good running engine, right? So we'll see. The 2-liter gas thing is a great idea. Those ABA swaps are so easy. And then I realized that the last one I did was converted to CE2 electronics. So the 88, I believe 88 or 87, they switched out to the newer electrics that went from, well, basically 87 or 88 all the way up until like the 2002 Cabrio. And that makes the swap so much easier because the engine harness and everything clips right into the fuse block. But then I have to do a full CE2 conversion on this car to make it work. That's just more stuff, right? And a CE2 conversion on a German car like this, you would have to end up, for like the dash to work, I believe you're gonna have to get a Cabrio dash harness and that kind of stuff. And of course we can splice wires and make things work, but it's just a lot of work to be able to do that kind of stuff. And it's been so long since I messed with the Mark 1. The last Mark 1 swap that I did was while I was in school in Missouri, and that was like 2016, an 83 GTI that I did a diesel swap in. And then while I was there, the diesel was giving me issues, so I did an ABA swap while I was in school. So I did do a CE2 swap then, but I also ran a Mark II dash in that car. So a lot of that stuff was like swapped over. But, okay, I'm going to put the phone up, get started, run some B-roll, I guess. And it'll be probably double the speed. I'll probably stop. This is like a good experiment to see if I can actually be a YouTuber and not just do single take videos. So we'll talk in a minute. Let's get started. Ran into our first snag. I'll show it to you. That AC compressor line right there is frozen. So I'm like, all right, we'll leave it on there and take off the line, and it goes through the firewall. So I'm like, now we got to take it off the freaking expansion valve if we're going to do it. So more to follow on that. Good Lord. So let's do a little story time while I'm working with this. So when I had my first shop, it was in like 2.5 bays, I guess. It had 2 garage doors, and there was a small bay behind my office. And it was in an industrial park that one of my friends was working at a machine shop in Collingdale, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philly. And The name of that machine shop is Mahler Engine Service, Mahler. So, dude's, he's pretty good. He's got an engine dyno also. So I don't know if he has like a true specialty, other than like high performance engines. I mean, he'll do stock stuff too. But it's been so long since I, talked to him. I'm not sure what he's been up to. So I started that shop soon after I got my business license, my incorporation done, and I was working at a shop down in it was a VW dealer down on Essington Avenue in Philly, and this shop always had the absolute worst CSI rating, and it was always fun to, like, when the reports came out, we would always see how bad they were this month and that kind of thing. And when I quit my job at the first dealer, I went to a shop or a dealer that was closer to me, and I worked there for about 8 months and got laid off. This is the problem with flat rate, one of them, right? So you're at the dealership, they have bays that are open, they just look at that as straight opportunity cost, and if you're paying flat rate, who cares? Bring a guy in and fill the bay. Well, the problem is if there's not enough work there, you're just wasting time. Your own time being there. And the problem with that is that the technician loses, right? And I'm not going to get into the whole flat rate debate. That has been beaten up so bad, dude. I'm just tired of listening to it. Flat rate works for certain shops and certain people. And as long as everyone's on the same page, it's fucking fine. Oh, gotta watch my language. So just, you know, anyway. Well, the problem was they didn't have enough work there. And that's the first time I've ever had to wait for a job until like 10:30 in the morning, right? And I'm like, that's not going to work. So after 8 months, I got laid off. And, you know, I already had my own business started. And I had a pretty good reputation with Volkswagen. And the local guy, which is the FOM, the field operations manager, blue collar guy or white collar guy, started putting my name out, and this dealer down in Essington Avenue would not stop calling me, wanted me to come down there and work. And that dealer filled their bays up with technicians. They didn't overfill them, but they filled them with people that they thought were going to be good techs. And there was, I think, 4 techs down there that were just horrible technicians. There was one guy that was pretty decent. Him and I kind of got along, kind of didn't. But eventually, there was a point where they were trying to fix quality control. And I just told him, I said, you need to put me in as foreman and allow me to try to monitor the shop a little bit better and these guys. And, you know, we can try to fix some of these problems. Well, 4 guys didn't really care, 3 guys, because they knew that they were crappy technicians. The other guy was like, dude, I don't need anybody telling me what to do. It's like, well, I'm not telling you what to do, but his quality control wasn't too much of an issue. But there was another, you know, anyway. So after a few months of me being a technician, they created a shop foreman position. They told me I need to produce 30 hours a week or 30 hours every pay period, and they would, you know, do it that way. Well, that worked kind of for a very short period of time, and I couldn't get paid enough money. Like, they tried to keep me happy. The manager I had was, one second. The manager I had was freaking awesome. He was scary, dude. He was a real big guy. I thought, you know, we were not going to get along because he's just like, this is the way that we're doing it. If you don't like it, then, you know, get you out, right? There was a time where there was a firearm involved with him managing, which he did the right thing. But really good, solid freaking dude, man. But the problem was that a lot of stuff was out of his control. So after like 4 months of that, I ended up leaving and going back to the first dealer that I left, and I worked there for about a year, and I ended up getting fired for foul language, right? So here's the first story. I was in the parts department, and where I work for Volkswagen, if anybody has ever got a factory set of brake pads from the mid-2000s, those things freaking stink, right? And, you know, I'm a class clown, right? There was 2 people in the parts department that were at the parts counter and a third at the parts counter in their own little corner. So there was 3 parts employees in there. The appointment coordinator, which was the girlfriend of the other highest producing technician in the Volkswagen side of the dealership, and there was 1 other technician in there. And I got brake pads for a car that I was working on, and I said, man, these brake pads smell like rotten vagina, right? And as I said that, if this is the parts counter, I step away, right? I had the brake pads in my hand, and the other technician is standing off to the side, and I put the brake pads in my hand. I put them up underneath his nose. I said, smell these brake pads. They smell like rotten vagina. I said it twice. Well, I said that. The appointment coordinator is 2 feet in front of me, right next to me. And I said that, and I stepped away from her, right, because the other guy's behind me. And she said that I was talking about her, right? I wasn't, because I wouldn't talk like that about somebody, right? And so as the day went on, towards the end of the day, my manager comes out and he said, did you say anything in parts department that maybe you shouldn't have? I said, you know me. I probably did, right? And then I'm like, I have no idea. And I really didn't. And then he goes out and tells me that this girl, her name is Tina, I think, said that what I said, and she said you were talking about her. I was like, oh, no, dude, it's a misunderstanding. I'm not even worried at this point. I'm like, no. I said there was 4 other people in the office at the time, in the parts room. I'm like, it's just a misunderstanding. Well, I had to write down a thing, a statement of what happened. I write the statement down, and you know, it's like a paragraph. It's like that big. Well, I see what she wrote. I wasn't allowed to read it, but it was a page and a half on a legal document, 14-inch page, right? I'm like, oh my God, bro. So then I go upstairs and have this meeting, and they have like their lawyers in there, and I mean, it was crazy, dude. There was like 10 people in this freaking boardroom, and I told them, I said, well, I'll just contact a lawyer, you know. But Pennsylvania is a right to hire state, or right to work state, I mean. So you can get let go for any reason at any time. It doesn't really matter. So I really had no leg to stand on. Now, they claimed that I was fired for sexual harassment, even though I wasn't. Like, I guess it comes down to perspective. You know, perception is reality, I guess. And if she perceives she has a problem with her genitals, then maybe, right? But anyway, so I got let go, and, you know, I was already a year into running my own shop at my, you know, after hours. I mean, full legit shop, paying insurance and everything. And I was like, whatever, dude. I'll just go back to doing my own thing. So after going full time, I outgrew that 2.5 bay shop, and I went to the new one. That was like, I don't know, 3,800 square feet or something like that. I could fit 13 cars in the shop. And so we went through that then. And that was a great time. That's where what this shop is. The Keystone European over there. So I moved to like the next little township over. It was probably only like a mile or 2 away. Let's get this straightened up a little bit. See me a little bit more maybe. And that was in Glen Olden. And that was a good time. So while we were there, I stopped doing high performance work and getting into like regular maintenance, because it's just so much easier to make money. And it's easier cars to work on. Yeah, it may not be as fun, but all these high performance jobs, engine swaps, turbo kits, fabrication, That's fun, but that does not pay the bills. There's people that want that kind of stuff. They want it, but they can't afford it. So this AC compressor is completely galled up. So now it's going to need a freaking compressor. And if I'm going to have 3 dudes in this car in southeast United States in the middle of July, I think I might want to have some AC. So now I got to deal with that mess. Be neat if we can convert this whole drive system over to a serpentine belt. I got to do some research on that. I don't know if I can get like ALH stuff maybe. With the injection pump kind of like in the way, it's going to add a lot of complexity. So I got to do some research on that one. I would love to get away from these stupid V-belts. If you don't know anything about these old Volkswagens, they use like V-belts that are tensioned off of things that are tensioned. So you have to get like the AC compressor tensioned first, then you have to get the alternator tensioned afterwards. And it's a bitch to get all of that done. That's why every time you see these, this has always been up for people using a pry bar on trying to get the belt tensioned up. So I would love to be able to get away from that. So anyway, so now I'm in the other shop, and I was there for about a year. So my business was a total of about 3 years old, total, when we finally moved. And I left that shop because I can't turn it off, right? I work all the time, and I had a wife at home taking care of a newborn kid. I had a crazy dog that was like constantly biting her ankles, going up and down the steps. It was just like enough, man. And I realized that I'm not going to be able to just set myself some boundaries and some rules and follow them. I just know myself better than that. So decided that I was going to close my shop up, move back to Chicago where I met my wife while I was at UTI. And we got into that. It took me about 9 months or so for me to close my business, sell all my equipment. I still had a bunch of cars and stuff. And we ended up moving out there. And I had 3 jobs. Remember that FOM I was talking about? His name was Jim Weiler. Freaking dude's cool, man. I reached out to him. I said, hey, I'm moving over here. Do you have anything you can do and this and that? And he said, yeah. I reached out to a guy named Ed Pohl, which is the FOM for Chicagoland area. And he was trying to get me to go work at a downtown Chicago dual dealer, Audi VW dealer. And I'm like, bro, I'm not driving in all that traffic. I'm not taking a train to work. I'm not doing that. So I had 3 jobs lined up at 3 different dealers, and all of them fell through. Every single one of them. I'm like, okay. So I was working at a Meineke for a little bit. I got a job working at a VW Hyundai dealer, but they wanted me to work on Hyundais. And I don't want to work on Hyundais. At the time, I was still kind of a crappy dude to work with. And I ended up making friends with people I wanted to be friends with. But I didn't get along with the manager either. And after they got through a bunch of their recalls for rotted subframes, because their cars are so crappy, they let me go, and which is fine. I went back to Meineke just for like a little bit, and then I joined the Army. I was trying to be a cop, actually, or a fireman. I took this test to do those things, and I had an interview with the police department, and I showed up there like wearing a sweater, not even a suit, because I wanted to go through the interview process. But I was already signing up with the Army, so that's what I ended up doing. And I'm kind of grateful I did, man. I had a really good time in the Army. Yes, there's some stressful times. Deployments were stressful, but for the most part, they were a good time for me. But it all depends on your perspective, I guess, right? And what you're doing. A lot of guys had a bad time deployed. There's a lot of stress when you're getting shot at, But anyway, so let's do a funny story. I'm at my shop, and I have a friend of mine named Gary. And Gary was and also a Volkswagen tech. And he was going down with me one day to do a timing belt on one of his, he did Kung Fu, right? And he was doing a timing belt on his Kung Fu coach's car, as an Audi A6, I think. And so he's down there on a Saturday and a Sunday both, using my shop for his side work, which I didn't care. It was fine. He was my friend. And So we get down there, we meet at my house, and we take my car over there to the shop. And I'm driving in like an 83 Volkswagen Rabbit GTI. It's faded red color. I mean, it's almost rust color. Is a piece of junk car. It was fast. It was all stripped. There was like no interior, and it was loud. It was a fun car. And we're on 95, and we're exiting off of 95, and there's a cloverleaf, right? So you go past the exit, cloverleaf, go onto the road above you, that kind of thing. To get on the cloverleaf, you got to take an access road off. Okay, so the access road had a divider in it. You got on the access road. It would allow the people coming onto 95 to get onto the access road to merge back into 95. And as I'm on that access road, people are coming off the cloverleaf, and there was a guy in front of me that was hauling a trailer. And these people that were coming onto the 95 merging road, access road, they were like not allowing this guy to get over. So in this little car, I cut the guy off that's trying to go past us so this guy can get over. I blocked the other dude from trying to cut him off. And so I didn't realize this was happening. But as I did that, the guy in front of me with the trailer, got over in front of me. So that was the point. I was trying to block the traffic. So we get off of the cloverleaf and we get onto the road going across. I think it was Prospect. I thought it was 420 is the name of the street, but it's over in Prospect Park outside of Philly. And he's telling me to go around him, right? Now we're on a 4-lane road, 2 lanes in each direction. And the ramp is coming onto the road across 95 at this point. And he's telling me to go around him because he's driving slow. I'm like, no, dude, I'm good, man. I kept on telling him, no, you're all right, you're all right. Finally, he's driving like 20 miles an hour. I'm like, I go around him. And as I go around him, I'm in the left lane. He starts pushing me over into oncoming traffic. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? That's when I realized he thought that I was trying to go around him. Actually, what I was trying to do is help him so he can get off the highway. But he thought that I was trying to pass him on the right on the on-ramp and stuff. I'm like, that's not what I was trying to do. So as I was doing that, he didn't realize that I'm driving a $200 car. Like literally I paid $200 for this car. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. So I go around him and I cut him off. And I must have missed his bumper by like inches, right? He jerked the wheel of his van so hard that the trailer that he was hauling behind him flipped over on its side. And he was moving, it looked like. He had a whole dining room suit on there, and he had buckets of paint. And that trailer flipped over. Now he's dragging the trailer sideways on the side of the trailer. And I'm like, what do I do, right? Because I probably kind of caused that accident. But he was also pushing me into oncoming traffic because he misunderstood thought I was being a dick. And here I was trying to help him. And I know he wanted to chase me, but he couldn't because his trailer's on the ground, like sideways. So me and my buddy were like, I don't know what to do, man. We like blew a red light and took off. And I'm like, man, that guy's going to find my car because there aren't any cars that look like mine. And we're probably going to start taking lead, right? And so, yeah, everyone has their own perception. And the perception is the reality. He thought that I was being a dick. He thought he was getting over on me by pushing me in oncoming traffic. But really, I was trying to help him out. But look what happened. So I wish, like, that stain, I mean, there was probably 5 gallons of paint, right? That stain on that road lasted there for years. And every time I went past it, man, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. That's probably 2007 when that happened. So, I know Gary watches this channel, and he's going to get a kick out of it. I'm sure he'll never forget either. So, yeah, dude, just understand that sometimes people are doing things that are right, and you might perceive it wrong. So that's why, like, when you talk about coaches and stuff, they talk about the good ones will always tell you, and leaders will tell you, that you always approach something with from curiosity, right? You don't go in there accusatory, because you're never going to win like that. You have to understand, because sometimes, and a lot of times, there's a perfectly good example or a good reason why this person did this a certain way, and in your head, your perception is like, that guy's wrong. That guy did all this stuff wrong. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, there's actually another reason. So remember that. All right. We'll talk some more. I want to go ahead and keep moving. Alright, I also have a speedometer cable that is stuck inside the transmission. So that's a new one for me. Oh man. That's why you don't work on old stuff. Here's another tip. These clutch cables on these cars, unlike the Mark IIIs, they have self-adjusting clutch cable. Man, I always had nothing but a problem with those stupid things. Trying to get those things loose to be able to take the trans out and stuff. You can put a early version clutch cable in. Now they're not self-adjusting, but they're a whole lot easier to work with. But that was before YouTube, so now there's probably a YouTube video that you can watch how to do that. And maybe there's another funny story. I bought 3 VW diesels from an old parts guy I used to work with. They were on Craigslist. I bought 2 2-doors and a 4-door Rabbit. All of them are naturally aspirated. And I got each one running. I drove one daily for a long time. I really liked that one. None of them were like super rusty. But I paid $1,000 for all 3. This was probably around 2005. And anyway, I sell my daily, and the guy's on the test drive, and the clutch cable breaks. Like, how do you drive a car for months, right? And then the guy's coming to buy it and taking a test drive, and the clutch cable fails. Oh, that was annoying, but I ended up having one from one of the other cars, and that worked out fine. That was a pretty nice one though. I put a header on it and made it a long tube to make it fit. With glass pack muffler, turned the pump up a little bit, and it was as fast as you needed it to be. That was a good car. Lowered it, had an old school 1980s American Racing 4-spoke wheels on it. It was pretty neat. We're going to try to pull the engine from the top or the bottom on this. Kind of want to pull it out of the bottom, but I can't get the AC compressor off very easily. It's like all these ACs that were put on these cars seem to be, well, there's a lot of factory AC options, and there was a ton of dealer installed ones, and it seemed like it's always an afterthought. And this bracket sucks to deal with, and the bolts are super freaking tight. So I got to deal with that. But the mounts are about the only thing left to take this thing out, and we'll be able to see for sure whether or not the crank is good. Here's an upgrade for you other diesel guys, but it doesn't even matter. You can upgrade to the automatic starter off of the diesel. Like a Mark IV. You can bolt that starter in here, and it's I believe a permanent magnet versus an enormous one, and they got a ton of power in them. I had to put a starter in this. For me trying to start it, I ended up melting the stupid starter. I think it's time to do some stuff underneath. You gotta get the axles out. Take one more piece of ship linkage off.
Another day on my own. The door is open and I'm waiting for you. I hope that my reflection grows. Please don't be in a hurry. Stay here a while. And I can hardly wait. And I can hardly wait.
Oh, I already drained the oil apparently. car has original ball joints in it, which is crazy because it's got like 160,000 miles on it. I like to take the 3 bolts out for the ball joints, leave them attached to the spindle or the knuckle, and then slide it out of the control arm. Makes the job easier. Here's your little flat rate trick. But I can't do that on this one, unfortunately. Good Lord. Freaking wheel bearing, bro. Holy shit. Is there any... Oh my God. Alright, let's talk about this then. I had a guy reach out to me. I used to work with him in the Army. He was a civilian. And he reached out. He's a mechanically inclined, very mechanically inclined individual. Went to motorcycle school and was doing that for a while. And he reached out, and he's not a professional mechanic. And I'm like, well, I kind of need a professional mechanic, right? And he was in between jobs. And I basically said no to him for like full-time employment. And I kind of think that maybe that was a mistake. He actually got hired on back as a contractor again. And Brad, if you're watching, I know you watch my stuff. Yes, I'm talking about you. I hired him temporarily for like a week or two in between jobs, and let me tell you, that dude is he's pretty good. But I had him do the suspension on this, and this probably should have been caught. I don't know if that's on the camera or not. This wheel bearing, we'll just make sure it's on camera. This wheel bearing up here, I just took this axle nut out, get a side view. So we're gonna have to put a wheel bearing in that. I mean, I'm sure that it coming across or down on camera, I mean, it's pretty bad. I don't know if you can see it or not, but doesn't matter. Now there's no wheel bearing. I mean, it's not tight, you know, and we torque them to spec, but that almost definitely is gonna have to be done. All right, sink these axles out. Beautiful Volkswagen triple squares, man. Looks like I may need the hockey puck seals replaced on these flanges. Yep. Boy, I called that one right. So I don't work on old stuff. That wheel bearing is smoked. I think we're going to take the engine out from the bottom. I used to have a Harbor Freight hydraulic table, and that would have worked really well, but you know, I sold that when I closed down my first shop. And I would love to have like the AGA table or whatever, but you know, between $3,000 and $8,000 for an electric lift table. We're not doing a lot of Euro work that requires the entire thing to come down. So not only that, but that takes an enormous amount of real estate. My shop's too small to really store that. So we're doing it hack style usually by putting a bunch of jack stands out and that kind of thing. Which may be what we're going to end up doing.
Another day on my own. The door is open and I'm waiting for you. I hope that my reflection grows. Please don't be in a hurry.
Still have to get the Speedo cable out.
Stay here a while and I can hardly
Well, that thing's ruined. So we're buying a Speedo cable. All right, break time. We'll be right back. We're gonna take a break. When we get back, we're gonna end up yanking this thing out of here. All right. All right, we're back. Got the engine out, obviously. Took the transmission off. Man, it's just old greasy normal stuff, right? We're missing a bolt for the bell housing, filled with dirt daubers. I guess it doesn't really matter because the Mark 1, I guess, has the engine ground on the transmission mount. I was expecting normally to see a stud up here, so it makes sense I didn't see it till we have it out. Let me show you this mount, or this right here. Man, these threads are completely gone on this thing. So it's going to need an AC compressor at minimum. I have an ALH swap that I bought for the Mark II that my son drives, and got screwed on that one. The guy said, "Oh, it's good, it's good." Yeah, it's not. They bashed a hole in the oil pan and drove it. Crankshaft was ruined, so I scrapped the entire engine. I did keep the rest of the stuff, the cluster, the key reader, and that kind of thing, so I don't necessarily have to send it out to get the immobilizer defeated. So that is an option for me, is to go out and get an ALH, I guess. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not yet. I don't think I can use the ALH accessories on this. If anything, it's got to be the TDI before that. I would love to get rid of all of this V-belt stuff, like I said, and go to a serpentine belt. I think there's a way to do it, but we'll see. It's got to keep your mind on the goals, right? All this other stuff, it just adds a bunch of complexity and ends up being like half the crap I own. It's like it's on jack stands forever, nothing ever gets done. So, like David Freiberger said, that he was told years ago, don't make it right, just make it running. And that's kind of like the idea, is that what we're trying to do here. But I do want to make it right enough to make a long trip, and I definitely want air conditioning. So we'll figure out what we're going to do. So hang out with me for a little bit. We're going to strip this block down. Probably going to start with just getting the crank out and inspected. We should be able to check end play right now. So let's do that. That way I know that if we have end play, we know that we're just wasting time. I never measured the other one, but I could feel that it was bad. Let's see what we got here. Okay, felt the crank move just a tiny little bit, so it's probably worth investigating fully. Seems to be pretty darn tight. Make sure we slide it back all the way. Let's check the back, see if I can feel it on the clutch too, or the flywheel. Okay, I didn't feel anything that time. Probably not moving it enough. All right. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it's definitely not terrible. Let's do the inspection proper and see what we can do here. All right. Kind of excited to use my new Snap-on dial gauge for check and run out, man. I'll show it to you when we get to that point. It'll be pretty nice to be able to see it in action. God, I hate these dial indicators that you get with the Slinky. None of them ever work. And you can get like US made ones. There's 2 US made companies that make them. And I kept on buying the same one. It might be Central. And it's just garbage over and over and over again. It wasn't Central, it was something else. But I got tired of it. So I ended up buying a Snap-on. Now it's a rebrand, but it's a really nice setup. So we'll look at that in a minute. Okay, let's get some of this stuff off. Here's another cool little tip. I did go out and spend the money on some of these. It's like a really nice chain made for lifting engines out. But I put a swivel on here that's rated for like 1,000 pounds or something. That's really nice to be able to do, to spin engines around and stuff. Okay, let's get the front end ripped apart. Hopefully I get this done pretty quickly. The wife wants to go see that new movie, Obsession. My kids watched it and they said it's freaking scary as can be. So I'm kind of excited to see that. I like horror movies. I like a bunch of B movies. Like, here's some cool B movies you should watch. If you like horror movies, or gore movies, I guess you would say. Obviously, you got to check out the Evil Dead series, like horror comedies, or, oh my god, horror comedies. Definitely worth watching those. It's a trilogy: Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, which is the third one. There's another good movie that's from New Zealand. They always put out some crazy ones called Bad Taste. That one's really good. It's about like zombies or aliens. And probably my all-time favorite movie for gore is Dead Alive. That's what it was released in the U.S. under, but it's got a different name elsewhere called Brain Dead, and it's probably my favorite movie when it comes to gore. It's really good. think Volkswagen's the only company out there that likes to use 11 millimeter for stuff. I don't remember having an 11 millimeter on the pressure plate though, or the flywheel, rather. If you never pulled one of these Volkswagens apart, the clutches are backwards. The flywheel is on the outside. And you bolt the pressure plate onto the crankshaft. Holy shit. Yeah. Ran when parked, huh? You know, I think the guy that I bought these cars from watches my channel. And this is the second car I got from him that were supposed to be good. And he's selling an engine. But it's the same thing, like on condition unknown. And he asked me if I want to, when I found out the engine's bad in this, do you want the other engine? And it's like, so far I'm 2 for 2 with junk engines, right? The Echo diesel that I bought, it had, somebody tried to do a timing belt on that, and they couldn't get it lined up correctly because the timing mark is on the pressure plate, or the flywheel. Right here. That is your timing mark, a little tiny indentation, and it lines up right here on this inspection cover. You unscrew this plastic thing, and there's a little tooth in there, and it goes up, and you spin the engine around, and you line up top dead center on the flywheel. Well, the guy that had the car before the guy that sold me the car, he ended up, somebody at some point put a clutch in it, and they bolted the flywheel onto the pressure plate without having the dowel pins hooked up or lined up, and it jammed the pressure plate together. Now it worked for a while until you have to do the timing belt on it, and you realize that you can't get the timing set, so they gave up on it. And then I bought the car, and I'm trying to get it running, and found out that I couldn't get the timing set up properly because of that reason. So I had to take I think I took the glow plug out, or I pulled the valve cover off and was able to find top dead center. On the head, there's a machine spot in the back of the cam, and there's a tool that goes in there and slides into place, and that locks the cylinder head in true top dead center. And once I found that, and that one didn't line up on the flywheel, I'm like, that's what the problem is. So then we corrected all of that. I got it running, but I ended up having to take the trans out to verify and replace the clutch. And I ran it like that, or probably for a few months before the head gasket failed. So no, I'm not going to buy an engine from somebody that I already bought 2 cars from that had major freaking problems with the engine. So I'm good, man. So, but here's what's crazy, dude. There's no way this thing ran or moved with the clutch completely missing friction material on one side. So there's a guy driving around on 3 cylinders. Like, I don't even know if you can even do that. These things only have like 65 horsepower or something. We got to jam this thing up. Get that bolt free. Let's take the, hang on, I just need the crankshaft so we can jam something across the piston top, keep the engine from spinning, or I can take the oil pan off and hold something against the counterweight. These are, I think they're 11 millimeter head bolts, so I have to grab some out of the trunk. And I gotta rig something up to hold the piston still. Let's do the counterweight, so I don't have to put the car down in the air. You guys can stay tuned. Alright, let's go up a little bit. Bottom line's good. Wish I could show you, but I'm kind of out of engine stands here at the shop. There might be one in the very back of that Connex, but I'm not digging that out right now. Let's see what we can do to get this thing jammed up here. Oh, let's try one more. I do have these weighted sockets. I've had pretty good luck with these things before. This is an OEM Tools one. As you can see, they're freaking gnarly, right? I've used these before pulling stuck wheel bolts off, or lug nuts, if they'll fit on the wheel, obviously. Boom. Look at that. The power of the right tools are amazing. Okay. Now we got to get the auxiliary shaft. Oh, that pulley came right off. That's good. You can pull the front seal cover off. All the bolts are out. All we're trying to do with this is take the crankshaft out. Unfortunately, can't use this block because the piston's bad. What pistons I have are oversized, like I mentioned in the video. So let's check the crankshaft for end play. First, push to one side. See if we can just see a visual or feel it. Nothing. Oh yeah. Crank is tight, son. Tight. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go get that tool and we'll show exactly what the end play is on that. This does have this wonky magnet thing on here, but this linkage piece I've never seen before except in the Snap-on catalog. So let's see if we can get this on here. Let's do this side, a little bit easier. Stick this guy on here, lock her in place. This is a Auto Shop Therapy First. I haven't used this tool yet. I'll bring you along here for in a minute. Once I get the tool set up, see what we come up with. Oh my God, bro. If you ever set one of these things up and you hated your life, this is going to make you so happy. That was a little loose out of the box. This just came undone again. Alright. Gonna make me look silly in front of all my followers here. Snap on. Alright. Let's move the crankshaft in and I'll show you the tool. So this is the tool that we use. Let me take you off the tripod. This is the tool that we use for checking run out on rotors specifically, but it's also good for doing what we're doing right now, which is what it's made for. We're doing checking end play. So right now I just have it set up. All we had to do is tighten up this knob, and it tightened up this, whoop, and tighten everything up down below. Okay, so it's nice and rigid. You can see I'm wiggling this a little bit, but it's returning back to center. And I reset the dial indicator to 0. Okay, now we're going to move the crankshaft. Now I have it set in all the way into the block. So we're going to see what it moves to when I stick something in there real quick. Make sure you don't get drunk here. Boom, you can see I just barely touched it and we went out 4 thousandths, which is what the spec is. I think the spec was 4 to 7. We are at 3.5. Is that right? 1, 2. Oh, we're at 4.5. There's half thou ticks in between. So awesome. That's very, very good news. Better than what it was. You can measure it with a tape measure last time. So I'm happy with that. So at least we can keep moving forward. Now I need to check to make sure that the crank and main bearings are in good shape. Honestly, if the bearings are good, I'm just going to reuse them. I don't really think, since I'm not buying rings, I don't want to buy bearings. That engine has been rebuilt at least once before. The bearings all look decent in that crank, but I'm probably going to use these bearings, right, that match this crank as long as they're in good shape. I'm concerned that, well, no, if we're matching the crank and its bearings, as long as these are good, then it doesn't matter if the other crank was cut or not, because that crank is bad. So yeah, we're in good shape. So now I got to take the rest of this stuff off. Yuck. But that's how that tool works. I am really happy I bought this thing. This thing is nice. Let me put this up so I don't destroy it. The other thing that's really nice about this tool also is that it doesn't have to come apart. It stays together in the box. Back to the fun part of me ripping this thing down. So I'm probably not going to be talking too much. Put you guys on super fast mode. There's a special tool for lining the pump up, injection pump at top dead center. I was trying to get away without using it because I'm not setting it up, I'm taking it apart, but I gotta lock that pulley up so I can zip the pulley off to take the pump all the way out. Don't ever put machine surfaces down on concrete. Like I just did. Let's get you pointed down here. But this block is trash, so I'm not worried about it. Okay. The auxiliary shaft on this drives the vacuum pump and the oil pump. That comes out. Ooh, there's a lot of sludge in the pickup tube. That's not good. I don't know what that is. So we'll get that out. And then we'll pop the crank and rods out. See what happens. I don't care about, no, I want the bearings out of these. So let's mark the crankshaft or the bearings so they stay straight. Oh, things are beautiful. So far, so good. Excellent. Very good. Now this is the one with the burnt piston. So if we had a rod knock or it was banging real hard or something, we're going to see it here in a second. Looks great. Couldn't ask for anything better right now. Let's get the mains off. Very good. This is a different setup. The thrust bearing on this is separate. It's not like the clamshell style. On that block that I showed you before, that's pretty neat that it's replaceable. I don't think it really matters. If you're putting that in, you're putting engine bearings in it. Very good. The mains are already numbered, that's why I didn't mark them. Man, this engine is good. Crankshaft is good. And it's got oil squirters. So this is a true turbo diesel block. I'm gonna leave the pistons in for now so I don't have to figure out how to number them later. We do have a little bit of discoloration on the bearing. I'm not going to fool you, I'm not a machinist, right? I tried to give up on acting like I knew what I was doing with that kind of stuff. Engineering to fab stuff, like yeah, I can put things together, but I'm also realistic. If the bearings aren't showing copper, I'm going to say that they're good and they're not full of metal. The engine itself is good, but the top of the rod bearings on here, showing a little bit of discoloration. I'll show you one so you understand what I'm talking about. This is out of the burnt piston. So you can see that discoloration there, but all of them look like that. Whether that's normal or not, I don't know. I might end up putting bearings in it. Oh, you know what it feels like? It feels like it's been oblonged. Let me spray it down. While this bearing is serviceable, it's far from brand new. That's what I think. So I think it's been wearing here. And when we get up into here, it's not touching there anymore. That's kind of what it feels like. Now we're not into copper down here. You can see there's some discoloration there. That's not grease. So it'd probably be a good idea to put rod bearings in it. I think this is a virgin bottom end, so I'm not going to worry about measuring them. So we will do plastic gauge to make sure. But as soon as this crank goes in the other block, then we're going to make sure it spins nice and free. And then we'll put the rods in and make sure they spin nice and free. No, I will do plastic gauge, which is not a machinist, a replacement for a machinist. But it'll tell you whether or not your bearings are too tight or too loose for sure. So overall, it's been a win. So now we know we have a good crankshaft and good bearings and everything. So now we can assemble this other block, put everything back together, and hopefully now I can send my injection pump out and my injectors, and at least we know that we're going to be able to get it together. So it's kind of good news, man. I kind of didn't want to give up on the 1.6 turbo diesel. This is the first one I've ever owned. The car is extremely solid. Let me show you the car. This is like the worst. These shift linkages from like Mark 1, 2s, and 3s, these things are always terrible. And this thing has like never been maintained. I forget how many miles are on. It's 200,000 or something. You can see the rack boot. You know, some jerk offs do alignments and don't take this clamp off over here. They just like spin the crap out of it. So like I got to deal with that. Like that stuff, it used to be all available, so hopefully it still is. But all this shift linkage is like all bad, right? This is missing the bushings. That's missing bushings on the transmission down there. So all that needs to get done. This is actually somewhat serviceable. It's better than the one I just did on my son's or my other one. This is the gear shifter. These things all go bad. There's a plastic guide here that cracks. But they're supposed to, yeah, you can see how loose everything is. But that is how you get into reverse. Sorry, I'm not looking at the camera. That's in reverse now. And then you slide that out. I got it stuck. But yeah, like underneath, there's no rust. These rust out right here, down the back. Spare tires rust out. It's all solid. So like the car is actually in really good shape. So it's definitely worth, you know, putting back on the road. And I really wanted to keep it a turbo diesel. So if you stuck around this far, let me know. I'll try to edit this thing. Hopefully it'll see the light of day at some point. And we'll see if I can kind of keep this up. And then how to make it better, just let me know. I mean, I watch as much YouTube as you do, right? And so I can probably look at it hopefully from a different perspective than from my perspective as me making this. But I appreciate you sticking around. All right, we'll keep you guys informed. Thanks for hanging out. Remarks complete, finally.